used to have this running series of WIE, and it was based off of BIE. Because if you don't know, the feds have a label called Black Identity Extremist, right? And the first people they had up there was people who wanted to be together, Hebrew Israelites and all that stuff, right? And they list other people too who were more black focused, centered on being together, which who could possibly say that's a threat for us to actually want to live, work, be in harmony together and see that as a vision, right? I don't know who could be worried about that happening and why they would be worried. But yeah, I came up with WIE, which is white identity extremist. So I want to add this one to the roster, and it's a Tennessee cop, right? And this Tennessee cop name is Megan Hall, and she said no. This is a crazy story. Honestly, if they hadn't got caught, if somebody was telling you this, you would think they were making it up. Now, this is Megan Hall. At the time, she was a 24-year-old married Tennessee police officer that engaged in intimate acts with all her coworkers. At this current time, she is now 26, possibly turning 27-year-old this year. Now, I'm going to go down the list of her coworkers, and if you think you were mistaken when I said all, you're not mistaken. I said all. Now, this is Patrick, and I'm not even going to attempt to say his last name because I'm not going to get it right, and I'm going to butcher it. So we can call him Patrick or Patrick M. Now, he got 2 weeks unpaid suspension for deep involvement with Megan Hall. Hall also admitted to having sex with the officers and McGowan, as well as she shared nude images. Holiday, which is another police officer, and Patrick was concerned with Hall's heavy drinking and mental state. And since they were so concerned about her mental state and her drinking, they wanted her to swallow them. Maybe it would help her get off of the alcohol and it would help her mental state. Now, Patrick said Hall unloaded her weapon and dry fired the gun at her own head so she could hear what it sounded like. Now, I don't know if they're trying to build some type of mental issue, like she has a mental issue is why she engaged in this, but that's crazy. I mean, it sounds crazy, but you don't have to be mentally ill to do something like this. So I'm not buying that mental health issue thing. It sounds like that she thought it was fun and she decided to do the Russian roulette thing without the bullets in the gun. Now, Patrick admitted not reporting that to anybody until December 8th when he said he called stats to relay these concerns to leadership. Basically, that's what the report said. So basically, when they're being investigated, now he wants to report this. McGowan revealed in what the report described as contentious interview with police brass that he once went to Hall's house with another female and exposed his genitals. He was also accused of trying to intimidate a city human resources assistant by grabbing her by the neck. And they went on to say that this was kind of the way the culture was. Right now, they're trying to make it seem like they really weren't into it. They were against it, but they didn't want to say anything and speak up. So, yeah, that's Patrick. The next one is Sergeant Lewis Powell. Now, Hall, Powell, and McGowan and two other officers were fired in December. Now, he's another one that was in deep involvement with Officer Megan Hall, and he risked it all for that wet wet. Lewis Powell, who was hired by the police department in 2008, was fired because of the sex scandal. Per the investigation, he repeatedly denied his relationship with Hall. When the investigation got kicked off and it started, he finally admitted to having sex with her. He said he denied it initially because he feared the repercussions. I mean, and it's very interesting that the repercussions never ever come to mind before the sex happens. Before whatever happens, you don't think about that. You're just in the moment. You can't think beyond you wanting a few minutes of an orgasm. That you're going to risk everything. You're going to risk your pay, you're going to risk your home, you're going to risk your family, your wife and children, your livelihood. Just risk it all for some easy sex. Whatever. That's how he lived. Dangerously. And this is Officer Larry Hall, who was suspended, right? He was also in deep involvement with Officer Megan Hall. Hopefully, the dog wasn't involved. Larry Holiday, hired by the police department in 2016, was punished with a 2 weeks unpaid suspension related to the sex scandal. Holiday did eventually admit he was in a relationship with Hall and had sex with her and his child's mother. Oh, sweetie. So, them at the same time. Okay. According to the transcripts, he said he did not have sexual contact with Hall while he was at work. Okay. In a follow up interview, Holiday said he stopped responding to Hall's texts. Now, he went on to say, I do my best to stay out of drama like that ish. Holiday said in the interview he claimed morale at the police department was bad. So, in order to boost everyone morale, everyone gets a blowjob, right? Everyone gets one and it'll make the job so much better. Anyway, Detective Seneca Shields, which it seems like to me he felt the reward was greater than the risk. He was at this police department for 10 years and he was a detective at that. He had worked his way up to detective and was fired in connection to having sex, basically. And I was thinking something because it's apparent as I go through these officers, like there are some who were suspended and there are others who were fired, but now I understand why. Now, he denied having sex with Hall, but later conceded that he had sexual contact once. He explained they had oral sex and exchanged nude photos. He claimed Hall had a foot fetish. So basically, she has naked pictures of all these officers. They all have the naked pictures of her, and dude was getting his toes sucked. I can't. Oh my god. Oh wow. Okay. Whatever. And I don't believe it was only one time. They are lying. This was a thing that they were doing. They weren't fighting crime. They weren't solving murder mysteries. They weren't looking for missing and exploited children. They weren't even trying to help the cat out the tree. They were too busy getting deep in the cat. Wow. Officer Gavin Not gonna mess up his name either. No. Last name, I can't. Now, hired to Officer Gavin, and I'm not gonna butcher his name either. I'm gonna skip over that. We're gonna call him Gavin. Hired by the police department not very long ago, just started his career. Just started his career, and look at him. Okay. Was punished with 1 week unpaid suspension related to the sex scandal. He told investigators he received a nude photo from Hall, but he deleted it. Yeah, he deleted it when this investigation started. He added he showed some officers a nude picture of. Wait, wait. Because when I first read it, I thought he was sending her pics, which, I mean, she has pictures of all of them, but he said he showed some officers a nude photo of himself while hanging out. Okay, so maybe that's why he got 1 week because because he wasn't interested in her. He's showing his nude photos to the guys, to the other officer, the other male officers. Wow. Okay. He told investigators he never had a relationship with Hall and didn't know of any relationships with other officers. I do believe him that he was not having a relationship with her because I think he swings the other way. I'm sorry. Um, I'm sorry, not sorry. What are you doing showing your naked pictures to other male coworker officers if that's not what you're into? And I think he's lying about the last part saying he didn't know that other officers was getting down and dirty with her. He knew. He knew they were sharing the details. Now, yeah, he swapped nude photos with her in another article that I read, and sure, and I said sure he didn't because they may not have enough evidence to say that he did, but from him showing his who randomly does that? I have some naked pictures of myself in the phone. Let me show you, or let me show you what I sent her. That's weird. That's sending out certain signals to the male cops. But yeah, that was all for Gavin. Officer Henry T.Y. McGowan. Now, Henry, who was employed with the police department for nearly 2 decades, almost 20 years he served at this police department, was fired in connection to the sex investigation. His first interview with the investigators took place in a car at an undisclosed location. McGowan appeared to not know he was meeting up with an HR director. McGowan disclosed details about a hot tub party at Sergeant Eric Stat's houseboat. He added he received nude photos from Hall. He said he was on the job and talked about how the investigation would sink the entire department if it got out. He denied having sex with Hall, but admitted he sent Hall a nude photo, according to the report. I think that he did possibly have sex with her because I don't understand how someone sends you a nude picture and you're communicating with them, but there's no sexual activity. They just didn't want to admit it because I think they were thinking that the sexual activity is what would get them in trouble, when actually the only thing that could get them in trouble is if they were doing these things while on duty. Now, Juan Lugo Perez. Now, he was employed by the department since 2018 and was fired in connection to the sex scandal. He exchanged nude Snapchats with Hall. The two had sex once, and according to Perez, he lied about it, then admitted it after the second interview with the investigators. Now, the police chief, Chip Davis, the chief was placed on paid administrative leave, then fired Monday for his deep involvement with Megan Hall. He filed a EEOC, and that's Equal Employment Opportunity Commission complaint because he was fired. Now, it was said by her that she gave him oral sex. Just to know that, just taking an account of your own reproductive health, and you hear other guys sit up here and say how they have done her, flipped her all different ways, all different openings, and all of that. It makes you want to do it too with her. Like, are you not disgusted that, the other officers have ran through her like she's a I mean, it's like you don't they don't get grossed out by that at all. And what if your fellow officers didn't know or was hiding that they had something that they couldn't get rid of? That would be my concern. Now, the only innocent person in this whole thing is Jedediah. And Jedediah is Megan's husband. And Jedediah has a master's degree and used to work as a park ranger. He is now a sheriff's deputy and is trying to salvage this marriage. And he is the son of a pastor, and he married Megan Hall in 2018. And I believe that his religious background may be the reason why he wants to salvage this marriage. It seems to me that she has a lot of sexual experience, so maybe he likes what she does, so he doesn't want to give it up. That's one reason, but I do believe because he wants to forgive her and all of that stuff. I mean, if it's his choice. It's his choice. Just like with women, it is the husband or the wife's choice if they want to stay in the marriage and work on it or if they want to leave. And nobody has the right to tell them what to do. They have to make these choices for themselves, and it's a hard choice to make. I think he should seek counseling. I think that he needs to talk to someone separate from her, because I'm sure she's begging and pleading with him to keep the family together even though she's the one who ripped it apart. I think he needs to do what's best for him, because if he doesn't want to leave and he leaves, he'll regret it. But if he honestly is trying to be the bigger person and trying to find a silver lining, he could end up staying in a marriage and it could turn bad. It could make his personality different. It could possibly damage the children, if they have children. And it could possibly push him over to the deep end, because if he's trying to force this, he could get so angry that what if he harms her? What if he harms himself? What if he can't really take that and he's just trying to show face, or he doesn't want to be a divorcee, or his family is saying something, or he's trying to do it for any other reason than himself? That could be very harmful to him and everyone around him. So this is not something that he can make a decision on lightly. And even if he made a decision to salvage his marriage and he feels like he's in it and he just can't, it would be best for him to leave. But do what he has the capacity to do. Because I feel for him. You're setting up here being exposed to the world that your significant other who did not have to walk down that aisle and say those vows to you and make that commitment. They didn't have to do that. If she wanted to be out here in these streets, busting it wide open to anybody and everybody, male, female, whatever, fine. That's her life. That's her reproductive health. That's on her. But to literally be with a man that said he wanted X, Y, and Z family that did not include bringing other people into the marriage or her being able to go outside of the marriage, that is not right. Period. She is disgusting to me. And personally, it would be a no-go. I'm hearing about you sucking fucking everybody in the police department. They probably came to her house, had dinner, laughing in his face, laughing at him, because they done had his wife every way possible. And now he has to carry this burden with him because of her. Personally, I I would leave. Like I said, can't tell him what to do. I feel like, she's done so much that could have harmed him, his reproductive health, his health. What if one of the police officers got mad and jealous and wanted to harm him? We've heard so many stories like that. And she's would have been the one who brought this into his life. So she has crossed too far to no return, personally, is what I think. Now, what really made me want to do this story is because this Mitch is basically setting up here. This bitch is setting up here trying to act like somebody forced her. She is literally trying to revert back to some teenager. You see how she looks now. You see the hair. You see the glasses. She's in this little dress like she's Susie Q homemaker, like she lives on a farm with goats and shit. But you out here doing everything under the sun with not your husband and with your co-workers. You would have to be a sexual addict to do these things or think very little of yourself to be doing this. I mean, if she wanted to do this, she could have got that out there on the streets, or she could have created an OnlyFans and at least got paid for it, since she wants to whore herself out. Yeah, she is now playing the victim. Now she is suing the city and her former police chief, Chip Davis, former Sergeant Henry T.Y. McGowan, and former Sergeant Lewis Powell. All three of them are the three Negroes that were on the force, right? And this just says something about them. I've said this and I regret saying it. I'm not saying that there are not good cops out there, good black cops out there. There are. I have met them. But they're in a position of power, and this is what they do. This is what they allow to go on. Nobody had any type of foresight of how this could really mess up everybody's lives. There could have been violence. There could have been lives lost over this if it got to that point. Thank goodness it didn't. But they were in a position of power. And instead of one of these police officers taking the high road and understanding, having those spidey senses say, this could negatively affect me, even if they wanted to be selfish about it. Everybody was lined up in the gym with their dick out ready to have it sucked. And then they risk their whole career just to line up and to have some lips around their penis. It's ridiculous. All of whom Paul said conspired to sexually groom and exploit her before using her as a scapegoat for the sexual misconduct scandal. She's literally acting like she is sex trafficked, acting like they groomed her. Oh, let me be your friend and now let me toss you in the bed. I'm sorry. There is no way, because she was doing these acts while on duty. She was doing this at the office. So you mean to tell me there was no way that you could have gotten out of this at all? Somebody told. Somebody put it out there. I don't know how it got out there, but somebody said something. So now that she's in trouble and she's lost what her career and she's been fired, now she's going to pass it on to the Negroes and say they were grooming her, they took advantage of her. She's probably going to cry some white woman tears. And like, I don't care. I honestly don't care, because at this point, if this is, you're ready to risk it all, and these situations have happened historically and currently. Did a story, I might link it, about a college boy who went off with one of these women and he didn't do anything sexual with her. She was at a party where she shouldn't have been. He didn't do anything and they locked him up for 12 years. So they basically ruined his life. And all of this over a piece of sex. She went on to say she was a vulnerable and optimistic 24-year-old woman. Yes, 24-year-old woman. Grown ass woman. Know what sex is, woman. Could have gone to her husband for protection, grown ass woman. Could have transferred to a different department, ass woman. Grown ass woman. I cannot believe she is trying this. There's nothing else that she can say. There's nothing else she can do. And the question is, she was hooking up at people's homes, going to their home. She didn't have to go. She didn't have to go to the boathouse. She didn't have to mess with the two women she was involved with, and she was sending pictures of herself. So they made her send pictures of herself. Okay. Now, she said they colluded in using their authority to disarm her resistance and entrap her in degrading and abusive sexual relationships, even sharing tips on the best way to manipulate and exploit her. She owned some grade A bullshit. I'm done with this. I'm done with her. She is a effing liar. She enjoyed every dick she swallowed. She was in it, and she was in it for a while. She was enjoying it. She even carried on a relationship with one of the officers. I'm going to leave the articles that I read a lot of this stuff from. I'm going to leave it in the description box. So if you want to go through all the details, you can, because it's explicit. She wanted to be degraded. She wanted to. I think it was a fantasy of hers. She had access to these police officers as the power, and then also the racial dynamic. She wanted to get the BBC. She was having herself a good old time like she was Charlie and Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. Now, I'll go ahead and leave it here. I'm going to leave a little video at the end. But yeah, go ahead, get in the comments. Let me know what you think about this disgusting, disgraceful behavior. I mean, this blew my mind to sit up here and hear. This is what Tennessee is doing. This is what this police department is doing. They don't have time to get criminals. They don't have time to solve murders. They don't have time to get rapists. They don't have time to do their job, but they got time to get their dick sucked, and then these women got time to get their back blown out. This is what they're doing. but they need to be funded even more. These poor officers risking their lives, putting their lives on the line. Oh my God, this is insane. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one.